For nearly a decade, Dennis Weaver's portrayal of Chester Goode on Gunsmoke made him one of the most recognizable and beloved faces on American television. Chester was loyal, gentle, and quietly brave, the perfect counterbalance to Marshal Matt Dillon's authority. Viewers welcomed him into their homes week after week, forming a deep emotional connection to the character. So when Chester suddenly disappeared from the show in the mid-1960s, fans were confused and disappointed. Rumors spread quickly. Some believed there was conflict behind the scenes. Others suspected health problems or personal disputes. The truth, however, was far more human and surprisingly thoughtful. Weaver's departure was not fueled by scandal or resentment, but by a difficult personal decision rooted in ambition, fear of being trapped, and a deep desire to grow beyond a single role. To understand why Dennis Weaver walked away from Gunsmoke, we must first understand the man he was before fame ever found him. From athlete to artist, Weaver's early years. Dennis Weaver was born on June 4, 1924, in Joplin, Missouri, and raised in a modest household where discipline and perseverance were essential values. Long before acting entered his life, Weaver was an exceptional athlete. He excelled in track and field, particularly the decathlon, and his talent earned him a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma. At the time, his future appeared firmly rooted in sports. However, World War II interrupted those plans. Like many young men of his generation, Weaver enlisted and served his country, placing personal ambitions on hold. After the war, he returned to college and resumed athletics, but something had changed. Though physically gifted, he began to feel unfulfilled. During this period, Weaver was introduced to acting through college theater. The emotional expression, storytelling, and psychological depth of performance stirred something deeper than competition ever had. Slowly, athletics lost their grip on his heart, and a new path emerged. A bold risk: choosing acting over sports. Choosing acting meant abandoning a future that once seemed secure. For Dennis Weaver, this decision was neither easy nor practical. Acting offered no guarantees, no scholarships, and no clear path to success. Yet the pull was undeniable. Encouraged by mentors who recognized his natural presence and emotional intelligence, Weaver committed fully to the craft. After graduating, he moved to New York City, determined to train seriously rather than chase quick success. There, he joined the prestigious Actors Studio, studying under some of the most influential acting teachers of the era. Immersed in method acting and classical performance, Weaver learned discipline, vulnerability, and restraint, skills that would later define his screen presence. His early years were marked by struggle. He took small stage roles, minor film appearances, and odd jobs just to survive. Progress was slow, but each performance sharpened his abilities. Weaver was not chasing fame. He was building a foundation. That patience would soon pay off in an unexpected way. Becoming Chester Goode, a television icon, is born. Weaver's life changed dramatically when he auditioned for Gunsmoke, a Western series quickly becoming one of television's biggest hits. He was cast as Chester Goode, the loyal deputy to Marshal Matt Dillon, played by James Arness. Weaver made a bold, creative choice, giving Chester a limp and a gentle, earnest demeanor that set him apart from traditional Western sidekicks. What could have been a minor supporting role became one of the most beloved characters in television history. Chester brought humor, heart, and humanity to the harsh frontier world of Gunsmoke. Weaver's chemistry with Arness grounded the show emotionally, and audiences connected deeply with Chester's quiet courage. Over time, Weaver became a household name. Yet behind the success, a problem began to form. As Chester grew more popular, Weaver worried that the role was slowly defining him and limiting his future. The very character audiences adored was becoming a professional cage. Why Dennis Weaver left Gunsmoke. Contrary to popular belief, Dennis Weaver did not leave Gunsmoke because of conflict, mistreatment, or controversy. He left because he was afraid of being trapped. By the early 1960s, Weaver had spent nearly a decade as Chester Good. Producers, casting directors, and audiences increasingly saw him as only that character. Weaver feared that if he stayed any longer, he would never escape the role. When NBC offered him the lead in a new series, Kentucky Jones, he made the painful decision to leave Gunsmoke. The move shocked fans and even some colleagues. Kentucky Jones ultimately failed after one season, making Weaver's gamble appear disastrous. Yet he never expressed regret. He believed growth required risk. Staying might have been safer, but it would have meant surrendering his artistic future. Weaver chose uncertainty over comfort, proving that his departure was an act of courage rather than rebellion. Reinvention and redemption. Life after Chester. Though Kentucky Jones failed, Dennis Weaver did not retreat. He continued working, determined to reshape his career. His breakthrough reinvention came with Gentle Ben, where he played a wildlife officer raising his family in the Florida Everglades. The role allowed him to shed Chester's image and present warmth, authority, and maturity. However, his greatest post-Gunsmoke success arrived in 1970 with McCloud. As Deputy Marshal Sam McCloud, Weaver portrayed a Western-style lawman navigating modern New York City. The role blended humor, intelligence, and confidence, and audiences embraced him as a leading man. McCloud ran for 7 successful seasons, earning Weaver critical acclaim and restoring what many believed he had risked by leaving Gunsmoke. He had proven that he was not a one-role actor, but a versatile performer capable of reinvention. A life grounded in family and loss. Away from the screen, Dennis Weaver lived a deeply grounded personal life. He married his wife Jerry shortly after returning from World War II, and their marriage lasted more than 6 decades, an extraordinary rarity in Hollywood. Together, they raised 3 sons and prioritized stability over celebrity. Weaver deliberately kept his family life private, shielding it from industry pressures. However, tragedy struck in 2003 when his daughter-in-law, Lynn Ann Weaver, was killed in the Santa Monica Farmers Market crash. The sudden, senseless loss devastated the family. For Weaver, it was a painful reminder of life's fragility. Though known publicly for strength and optimism, those close to him acknowledged that the loss deeply affected him. Despite personal grief and later health struggles, Weaver remained active, compassionate, and purposeful, never allowing sorrow to harden him. A quiet pioneer, Weaver's environmental legacy. One of the most overlooked aspects of Dennis Weaver's life was his environmental activism. Long before sustainability became mainstream, Weaver advocated for alternative energy and ethical living. In 1993, he founded the Institute of Economics, promoting the idea that economic growth and environmental responsibility could coexist. He championed renewable energy, vegetarianism, animal welfare, and reduced fossil fuel dependence. Weaver didn't just speak, he acted. He built an eco-friendly home in Colorado using recycled materials and solar power, and in 2004, he led a cross-country tour in alternative fuel vehicles to demonstrate clean energy solutions. His activism was thoughtful, practical, and deeply personal. He believed individuals could create change through everyday choices. This commitment revealed a man driven not by fame, but by conscience. Final years and passing. In his later years, Dennis Weaver faced cancer with quiet dignity. He continued supporting environmental causes and remained active in his community, surrounded by the natural beauty he cherished. On February 24, 2006, Weaver passed away at the age of 81 at his home in Ridgway, Colorado. Tributes poured in from fans, colleagues, and environmental advocates alike. He was remembered not just as Chester Good or Sam McCloud, but as a man of integrity, curiosity, and principle. His life demonstrated that success is not measured solely by longevity in one role, but by the courage to grow beyond it. The real legacy of Dennis Weaver's departure from Gunsmoke was not a mistake. It was a statement that growth matters more than comfort, and that fear of change should never dictate a life's direction. He risked everything to avoid being defined by a single character, and in doing so, built a career and a legacy far richer than most. Beyond television, Weaver stood for environmental responsibility, family devotion, and ethical living. His story reminds us that beloved roles may fade, but principled choices endure. Chester Good will always be remembered, but Dennis Weaver's true legacy lies in the courage to walk away when staying would mean standing still.